What's up, guys? EJ Stewart here. We're doing another video. This is our Young Justice episodes recap and review. Today we're talking about episodes 22 and 23. So these are the first episodes of the Nightwing arc. This is the final arc of season 4, Phantoms. I'm also joined by Shamari Stewart, who is not with us via video, but he is with us via audio. Shamari, I'm really excited to talk about these episodes. You know, obviously I have to represent as a Nightwing fan on this on this podcast. And what I will say is it is interesting to me that even though this is being kind of pushed as a Nightwing forward arc, in some ways it's not in a way. You know, we don't really get too much into the background of Nightwing. We do a little bit. You know, we see he's still with the Haley. He's gone back to the Haley Circus and stuff. But this is really now Nightwing kind of bringing it home. This is him figuring out the conspiracy, figuring out the mystery. And now this is him gathering the original team, the team that we see in every intro of this episode, of this show, together to find Connor, who we now know, of course, is trapped in the Phantom Zone. So maybe not exactly what I thought this would be, but I'm still excited to talk about it nonetheless.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm right there with you, EJ. Um, I mean, these were a couple of very interesting episodes. As you said, it is. It feels like it is, but it isn't. Like you said, it is a Nightwing arc, but it also isn't. I mean, it's very much a conclusion arc. And the second episode took us into Markovia, which is very interesting. So that felt like almost like its own thing. Um, so it'll be interesting to see that tie into everything that's been going on. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things to talk about.
There definitely is a lot of interesting things to talk about. Like I said, Shamari joining us via audio, but he is with us for this entire show. And like I said, we didn't do a recap last week, but we are doing episodes 22 and 23 combined in this discussion. Let's start with episode 22, which actually, and I watched both these episodes twice, of course, you know, seeing as we didn't do one last week, I rewatched episode 22. And like I said, I'll admit when I first watched, there was a little bit of, you know, kind of buyer's remorse in regards to being so excited about this Nightwing arc and feeling like in many ways they made it more about the entire story, which I guess they kind of have to. We're getting to the end of the season. There's a major plot point going on with Connor being in the Phantom Zone with the Zods and some of the havoc that they're causing in the real world, so to speak, with their son Lorazad. You know, maybe Dick got short-staffed a little bit. No, very much no pun intended with that. Maybe not very probably very poor choice of words. But nonetheless, we kind of got short-staffed from that regard. But we do see something that I thought was interesting, which was Dick has joined the Haley Circus, and that I guess has kind of been his, I don't say his day job, because it says that he's returned as Dan Danger. So it's something that maybe he does on the side. And I just thought, as someone thinking about Dick and some of the tragedy that he's gone through, of course, you know, losing his parents to the Haley Circus, I actually thought it was kind of nice to see that a place that probably brings him a lot of trauma, he's actually gone back to that, and it seems to be bringing him quite a bit of joy. I thought that was a nice touch to see there. Were you surprised to see this introduction to Dick and him being, he's not, you know, the Flying Grayson, he's going under a new alias, and I'm not even sure if they are aware it's the same kid who was with the Flying Graysons from, you know, 15 years ago. But were you surprised to see this this opening for Dan Danger, as they call him?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Haley should be aware, so he knows,
Right.
but um, but yeah, I don't know if anybody else knows. It would seem not, and I mean, I was a little, I mean, I guess I was a little shocked, but um, I think at the same time, I also kind of wasn't because I mean, this is a big part of who Nightwing is.
Yes.
Um, I mean, this was his very much his upbringing. He very much used those skills on a daily basis with his crime fighting and
Yeah.
everything.
Still
So
does.
like that was, yeah, exactly. Still does. It's not like that's a talent that was ever shunned or anything like that. And that's what his parents did for him. And obviously they're a big part of his life. So I mean, it's to me, it's not too surprising. And Dick isn't, it's very important to kind of differentiate Dick from Bruce. He's not as brooding as Bruce. He never was. He never wanted to be.
Right.
So he's not. he just doesn't have that same kind of mindset. So it is surprising, but it also isn't because I could definitely see Dick doing something like that.
Yeah, for sure. It was, I think it was neat to see, and so much of this show has been about characters growing from their grief, growing from the trauma that they've grown up with, and we know, Dick's been doing these sessions with, Dinah since he was a kid, and
Right.
I think that was in some ways, I think a little bit of something that the creators wanted to kind of show you to see. Hey, here's someone who's had issues and has talked to Dinah since he was a young kid, and he's clearly overcome a lot of grief, a lot of joy. I mean, there's to go back to Haley Circus, he would have had to have really dealt with a lot, and we know the work he's done to do that. It was
Yeah.
I thought it was nice to see him in that light, but we should focus very quickly because Zatanna shows up, and there's obviously very much the romantic tension still there between those two. We know from season one they were kind of a thing, and it's referenced later in an episode by Artemis, who says that Dick actually dated both Zatanna and Rocket at one point in time. So I also thought was kind of neat because Dick has a little bit of a history of being with various different women in the DC universe. So I like that they kind of snuck that in there, his character here in this Earth 16 world. But Zatanna immediately says, "Hey, look, I need you here, but I don't need you as a circus act. I need you as a detective." And that kind of brings us to the large crux of this episode, which was the search for Connor. Zatanna kind of has to convince Dick to go through with it. And, of course, Dick having had to come to grips with Connor's death, just like the rest of the team, like we've seen several of them struggle with it. He really wasn't all that thrilled of trying to go down this rabbit hole. But she says, "Look, your detective skills are as top notch as anybody, and if you give me just 24 hours, I know you'll crack the fact that he's alive." And they kind of, again, I'll say in my first watch, I was a little, I don't know if I loved how quickly he discovered everything in the first watch. But in the second watch,
Mm-hmm.
I think it came through a little better. It didn't feel as rushed, maybe because I knew where it was going to go. And, we see throughout this episode, I mean, there is legit detective work done. Of course, like I said, they were there it started with going through the database and seeing, whoa, what the hell? Like, Wally's been missing too. Like, nobody knew that. I talked about that. That's interesting. Two people from the Outsiders are missing. One of them now is a space traveler. What's Wally been doing? And then quickly they're able to see, wait a minute, he was with these random people. Who the hell are these random people? And that leads them to what I thought was the beginning of it's been an ongoing joke about, Clark, people finding him, knowing who he is. And their first thought was to go to Clark and be like, "Yo, who the hell are these two kids?" And Clark, first of all, is like, "I gotta find another place to get food." But they go to Bebo's and they talk to Clark, and he tells them a little bit, saying, "Hey, I think those people are good people, but I can't tell you much because it's on a need to know basis." Which was frustrating for Zatanna because she's like, "What the hell? Need to know basis? Like, Wally's missing. Like, if it's anything, if there's anything that's I keep saying Wally. I meant
It's Bart.
Kid Flash Bart. Yeah, Bart Allen. Bart is missing. Is anybody worth trying to ring the red alarms with for one of the Outsiders going missing? How did you feel about the way they kind of set up the initial start of this kind of detective tour we go through, with beginning with Dick kind of figuring out that something was up with Bart and that it may be connected, given the connections that Bart had to the same people that had been visiting Clark, and they now see had actually been several parts of their journey as a team, especially stuff involving Connor.
I liked it. I mean, you know, I did notice he figured it out pretty quickly, but you know, I don't know. To me, it seemed very Batman-esque. I mean, we've seen Batman do
Yeah,
that many times, where he just, you just give him a few things, and he puts the pieces together.
yeah,
He starts from the beginning. Okay, what's going on? This is a strange coincidence, and he kind of slowly kind of build a case, basically. Um, and and Yeah. So I mean, I thought he did a very good job, and I like seeing him work with Zatanna and Rocket as well, and then of course, towards the end forming their team. So yeah, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I thought it was cool as well. Like you said, it doesn't end with the meeting uh, with Clark. They also talk to Artemis because they go through. Okay,
Hmm.
well, what was the last things that uh, what were the things that what did he like? There are things that are missing, and he had to get some supplies from with those. That's where he saw Bart with the Legion. He saw them at a department store, and they got all these supplies. Okay, well, he probably would need more supplies if he's going to be going out of space, and that's when he gets Artemis involved, and it's like, has anything been missing that you noticed? And she's like, oh yeah, space belt, all this other stuff, and they're like, that's very interesting that now all the stuff is missing. And boy, I thought, and I'm kind of upset I didn't get a screenshot of it, but I gotta put your name down here, I see it, but the I thought that was one of the coolest uh, displays of Bart's speed or any Flash's speed. I thought was actually in this scene. And I know you'll say, well, they've done the security camera thing over and over again, and that's not something new. But maybe I'm a nerd when it comes to like frame by frame studying of anything because I do a lot of video editing and stuff. To see them show the frame by frame and Dick's like slow down frame by frame, and you still never see Bart actually take anything. He is so fast that in the second frame you only see the back of his heel. Like a lot of times, do the frame by frame thing, you'll see like you'll see them take the thing, you see the body kind of more kind of in focus. But I even thought that was a little really neat thing to kind of show just how fast Bart is, and we see that again on the ship, which we'll get to in a second too. But they they piece it together with okay, he still stole some stuff, so clearly he was on some kind of mission that involved space. And that's when Artemis is like, oh yeah, by the way, the League just had a mission into space and they dealt with some Kryptonians. And if the idea is that there is something going on with the Phantom Zone being a part of this, then maybe you should talk to Rocket. And that's where, as you said, they got Rocket involved, and they were able to piece together from her memories that the glimpses that she saw of the Phantom Zone that Zatanna was able to piece together was the same images she saw from from the Phantom Zone when she saw Connor when they were in the bus. So quickly they're able to put a lot of this together. That one, Connor is almost certainly in the Phantom Zone, as Dick said. I didn't even need 24 hours, and I already got it. And he's able to put together that whatever Bart was doing, they're probably on a parallel track of trying to save Connor. And that perhaps the stuff with the bioship, all that stuff was Connor, or excuse me, was Bart with that team trying to also save Connor. So again, it all came together pretty quickly from that angle of it. What did you make of kind of how this all came together?
Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought it was pretty cool. This episode, or at least this particular section of this episode was, I think it was very, it was plot focused,
Yeah,
so it was furthering the plot, not much action, just deduction, basically. Detective work, gathering evidence, putting pieces together from this, from that, and kind of helping the story get from point A to point B. But I thought it worked. I thought getting, like you said, getting all the pieces, figuring this out, figuring that out, and by the end putting everything together. I thought it was just done really well, and it was really cool to see.
it was really cool to see, and they eventually involve Aquaman as well, and of course him being a member of the team, and they want to. It's kind of crazy how he just came from a sabbatical, he just came to grips with Connor's death. And Dick's like, yeah, by the way, actually, we think he's alive, and we need your help now. So, but what I will say is, any feelings I had about there not being the true Nightwing arc per se, and it's feeling honestly, a lot more like OG Young Justice. That actually was, the quote unquote consolation prize for me. Was that this felt very much like OG Young Justice, and the fact that we're gonna go into these last three episodes of this team together, trying to get one of their OG homies back. Though we'll see how tough that's going to be. I think is neat about how this whole thing played out. I don't know how you felt about that, but that kind of got me through, especially on the second watch, because as you're watching it again, you're just like, wow, this is really the OG team coming together, and that's really exciting. Real quickly before we get to the next episode, I do want to just go through quickly some of the stuff that was happening. It's the first time we see that Phantom Girl had awoken in the Phantom Zone to alert that they were in grave danger. Now we learn in the next episode that Connor's too far gone to really understand all that, but she does wake up finally and alerts him that, hey, we gotta get out of here. This is not a good situation, which we all know. We also get the fact that Lorzad, what we thought was maybe a kind of short fight with like Lorzad and the Legion, was actually a little more, or at least a short surrender. Was actually a lot more invasive than that. Like he actually had to, they had some fighting spirit. They actually were trying to see if they could stop him, uh, but he's able to thwart that. So now they are
Mm-hmm.
all captive. They're going to be working now to, I guess, they're kind of at his behest. Kid Flash is now on the space, the space treadmill, and they're headed to Oa because that is where the Kaiser Thrall is held. And we got an interesting note in that kind of post-credit scene regarding the Kaiser Thrall, which is similar to what we saw with Violet, and we've seen with with
Mm-hmm.
Cyborg or Victor, where he's
Mm-hmm.
merged with a father box. Violet is a mother box. The Kaiser Thrall is a human,
Yep.
or at least somehow it is merged with a human spirit. It is a young human. It's someone 12 years old, according to the Green Lanterns. That is very fascinating, and I was trying to think of who the hell it could be. I couldn't think of anybody. But did you have any thoughts on what could be going on with that Kaiser Thrall? That I thought that was a really one of the better probably post credit scenes they've had in a while.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most important ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't expecting such a something that's so revelatory, so seemingly relevant to the plot. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. So it seems to be a young human boy
yeah,
that is whose spirit or something along those lines is contained within that box. So it's very strange. It's very strange that this box is kind of hanging around with Lorzad and Malafak
yeah.
and kind of doing their bidding. I don't know what's going on. We don't know why or how. The human. I have no idea. I don't have any theories or nothing. Um, so yeah, it's very strange, but I'm looking forward to finding out whatever's going on.
And before we get to episode 23, I will say, like, this like weird Phantom zoned out Connor is it was hilarious seeing him talk to the Zods. Like, he's going
Yeah.
through everything and they not understanding what he's saying. They're like, and then they find out he's part of House L, and at that point, Zod's wife is like, well, we can't trust this guy. We gotta get him out of here, or whatever. And General Zod still, let's chill. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what he's done. And Connor's like, well, look, I killed, Kal-El, which he really didn't, but he thinks he did because what happened in the
Yeah.
Phantom Zone. And he's like, and then he explains to them a lot of what happened. Like, you realize that these people have no idea that Krypton has been destroyed and anything like that. So it did kind of, to me, kind of put together what we see is a young origin for this Superman. We already know that he's never met Zod, but we don't know the Zods don't even know that Krypton's been destroyed. So there's a lot of stories to be told now from that perspective that I think will potentially spark some really neat story details. But when he said to his wife that his wife said I need to get some air, and Connor's like there is no air in the Phantom Zone. That was like I like laughed out loud. That was one of the funniest lines I think I heard all season.
Yeah, it was a funny scene. Um, but yeah, just very interesting that this Zod has not interacted with Superman, has never been
Yep.
out of the Phantom Zone, at least not in like the current timeline that we've seen with
Yeah.
Superman and everything that he's dealt with. So this is kind of going to be the first interaction he has with Earth. He doesn't know what Earth is. He doesn't know anything.
Yeah, I
So this
mean,
is kind
Connor has to explain to him what a yellow sun is and why the
of,
yellow
yeah.
sun is important. Like it's like there's a lot. There was a lot of really a lot of stuff that was introduced that we now know was like it was literally being introduced. Like this was the first time he was knowing any of this, and like it revealed something that I was wrong about. Because remember earlier when we did these reviews, I assumed that oh, he knew Connor was an L, but like because the Phantom Zone was all effed up, that he would be able to, kind of manipulate him into doing whatever he wanted, and he still is manipulating him. But now we see like he doesn't have any background of Connor being part of the L's or anything involving Earth or anything like that. So this is like a truly an introduction to Zod. It's like an origin story almost, and we know that a little bit because of the stuff we saw in the flashbacks that we heard from the Legion when they were explaining to Bart what had happened. But I think this even revealed even more just how, you know, how much in our infancy we are with the Zods and their journey. So that's really where we should pick up with episode 3, because a lot of this kind of continues with Phantom Girl telling Superboy, "Yo, man, like we gotta get out of here. This ain't good." And she goes into great lengths to explain what happened and how she saved them essentially. And we kind of all figured that it was something with Phantom Girl, but she goes on to explain that, listen, the bomb was going off. I was trying to save you, and with my powers, I'm able to phase through dimensions, similar to how phase through matter rather, the way Megan can phase through density. But when I phase through matter, I do it by my connection to my dimension and my home world. But because of the density of Connor, him being a powerful person, the pain she was going through, because she was going through, hot lava and a bomb exploding, and just all the pressure that involved, that that hypothesis, which I think is for us to kind of take at face value, is that she basically got them stuck in between dimensions. And that the Phantom Zone is the dimension between her world and the world that Connor is from, the universe that Connor is from. Really interesting stuff in terms of how they laid it all out. What did you make of this conversation that happened between Phantom Girl and Superboy?
Yeah, I think it was it's kind of what we've been wondering, for most of the season, which is what happened, how did they get there. So that answered those questions, and I thought it was cool. I didn't know much about her as a
Yeah,
character. I probably could have looked it up, but I was like, let the show tell me. And and I think that basically pretty much explains what was going on. And I think that's what honestly it seems like that's what most of us theorize, was that she tried to get him out or something, tried to phase or something along those lines,
yeah,
and they just got stuck with the explosion and everything. They just ended up jammed in the Phantom Zone, I guess, somehow. Um, but yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's crazy. This is a
yeah.
crazy situation.
And it continues to add up to why Connor is not in the Phantom Zone database, because he was sent there, and now we know how he was sent there. But it becomes sad rather quickly, because as I said just a couple minutes ago, like we see that he's too far gone. Like she's like, all right, and then what we also learn is that like this was gonna be a very easy exit. Like she could get them out of there just like that. Like this was not like Connor's whole existence being stuck in this Phantom Zone was tied to the fact that Phantom Girl was just knocked out this whole time. But that she was actually she can merge through dimensions rather quickly, and she was gonna get them out of there fast. But Connor essentially ends up dry snitching as soon as the Zods come about. The Zods come back and they're like, so what the hell's going on? And he's like, why do you keep looking over that girl? Like she ain't do nothing to you. You should be more loyal to us. And he's like, oh well, the girl's awake now. and Phantom Girl, who just told Connor, like, yo, don't say anything. Like we need to keep this on the down low. Like immediately turns on her, and reveals that she's awake. And they're like, what? And then he's like, oh, and by the way, she can get us all out of here. Like just the whole gambit of potentially helping get Connor out and get him to safety was all gone in a matter of seconds because of Connor's loyalty to the Zods. Like his loyalty is real. Like this is not like a little thing where they could easily snap him out of this. Like whenever the team, assuming they do eventually get to Connor, this is going to be a big deal. And I'm actually wondering if McGann not going on this mission will end up being to a detriment to them, because she will not be able to talk to Connor, connect with Connor. He seems very much enthralled with the House of Zod now. Really gripping scenes here. What did you make of this aspect of the episode?
Um, I thought it was yeah, like you said, it was gripping. It was cool. It's kind of sad, a little sad to see
Yeah,
I feel like that's going to be very sad to see when we end up having confrontations between Superboy and everybody else. They're gonna have to kind of reprogram him, I guess you can say.
Right? Yeah.
Uh,
And you think about his background of being programmed. That is, you're right about that. I didn't think about that.
yeah, so yeah, so they're gonna have to, they're really gonna have to kind of try to fix him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of sad.
It is kind of sad. And one thing that I don't know if you picked up on, but I think was very important is, I actually just realized, like, watching it a second time, that I didn't even see the scars on Phantom Girl's arm, and that went from her diving her hand into the lava when
Right.
she, tried to save Connor. And when she comes out of the Phantom Zone, like, again, she just exits. She's like, all right, you ain't coming with me, then I'm not staying here, so peace, But you see
Right.
the sadness on her face, and what I will say is that sadness was sad, no pun intended, because I think she also realized what this all meant. Like, if Connor really is too far gone with the Zods, then everything regarding him saving, the world and inspiring the Legion, like all that stuff, all that gambit is gone now, because he's all in with House Zod, which was their whole point. They needed someone to inspire them to stop the Zods. So she's in tears when she eventually steps out. But one of the key moments in this is when she gets out and she goes right back to Mars, like right where they were, right in that lava pit. You see, she in intense pain because her arm, which was in lava the last time she was in that dimension, is still injured. And the one thing
Mhm.
I thought about was, well, Connor has what looks like mortal injuries that he's dealing with. I mean, look, like you see his chest, like I mean,
Yeah.
he got scarred up really bad. So I'm almost curious. I'm really curious if he's gonna survive this season. Still, like we all thought, oh, Connor's definitely gonna survive it. Like, I'm now having some major questions because he has mortal wounds. I don't know how he's supposed to just be okay from those injuries. Did you pick up on that as well?
Um. No. Well, I didn't think about that. I noticed his wounds. But I didn't think about that. You're right. So they're gonna have to. I mean, I don't know. They seem like real wounds. It's not like, I mean, I know he's Kryptonian and they have a yellow sun and all that. I don't know
Yeah,
if he
yeah,
can
maybe that could
heal.
save him. That's true.
I don't know if he can heal and
Right.
or something maybe. But I mean, that was a kryptonite bomb, so I don't know. So it's really up in the air. I'm not really sure how they're gonna treat that. But yeah, that'll be really sad if he dies after all this.
It would be. I'm not gonna say I definitely think he will, but I mean, I was certain before this that he would survive this, and this was gonna be easy peasy. And now I'm not convinced of that. Like, now I'm like, this is gonna be a tough thing. I think he's gonna be really banged up, and even if he does survive this, I think it may be a while before we actually see him in action again for next season, or there may be a pretty long, road to recovery for him. But yeah, no, I think this was that was a very important thing for us to note from this episode, was that whatever injuries that they sustained prior to being in the Phantom Zone, and I almost remember, Connor also was attacked by one of those Phantom Zone monsters, but I think it's also some of those wounds he's dealing with. I wonder if those travel with him as well. There's a lot of questions about, again, what Connor's going to be when he gets out, or if he gets out. So, very important moments from this episode. Before we get to the continued quest to find Connor, I do want to talk about Markovia. We're back, and we've heard glimpses. We've seen, some glimpses on the television. Maybe Beast Boy on his phone, or other stuff, where we kind of got glimpses of what Markovia has been. But here it was our first time opportunity to really, kind of dive into what's been happening on Markovia under King Brion. I Again, it's funny because I've seen some kind of mixed reactions to this, and I think some of this is probably also, again, from those Nightwing fans who expected a full Nightwing arc, and now we're in Markovia, and you could argue the Markovia stuff was the A story this week. Honestly, I thought this stuff was excellent. It reminded me a lot of stuff you'd see from the X-Men. Markovia definitely setting itself up to be kind of a Genosha type of place, with with Geoforce now kind of forming a actual superhero team, which he's with the Infinitors, which is a team that's been in the DC Comics, anti-hero team that's been in DC Comics for a long time, and they're being repurposed here to be kind of the superheroes of Markovia. And there's a whole cadet system, and there's a whole system in place to kind of get these people together, and we're introduced to them through them trying to essentially stop an attack. There's a young man who's trying to I guess find asylum in Markovia, and he quickly is being chased by these Wilhelm Wittings and this group of anti meta people, and he's only saved by the Infinitors, and that was our first introduction to them. What did you make, Shamari, of just this first introduction to Markovia and what we kind of see going on with Geoforce?
Boy, so there was a lot.
A lot going on, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot going on here. Yeah, it's like they basically kind of introduced a whole new like problem, or
Yeah,
because
you're
Markovia
right.
was always the problem. We knew that was an unfinished storyline, basically, which I don't
Yeah,
know. People have mixed feelings about it, I guess, but that was basically like an unfinished storyline from last
100%.
season, which is yeah, he killed his uncle, did a coup and all that, took over
Yeah,
the country. It's like okay, so what's going on with this country?
right.
Like we got all these metahumans. They're saying, oh, what metahumans are welcome to Markovia. So are they all just going to Markovia? Are they all peaceful? Like, what's the deal? With Brion? Is he still crazy? Is he still power hungry? Is he ruler? Like, what? So we're getting answers to those questions, which is good. But not everything is all kind of hunky dory in Markovia. So I mean, they got like you said, they got the Infinitors, and some of them are kind of shady.
Yeah,
Um, kind of power hungry a little bit, kind of telling all the humans to get out. So it's very yeah, it's a very kind of murky situation going on, and we got that
the
I forget
ambassador.
what that guy's title is.
Yeah, the ambassador.
Yeah, that ambassador that's just making everybody
Yeah,
rage out. It seems.
yeah, but Bazarov. Forgive me for not mispronouncing his name, but yeah, Bazarov.
Yeah, so that's an issue.
Bazovi, I think that's his name is Bazovi.
Okay.
Zvi Bazovi, yeah, ambassador. Yeah, and it's funny because I don't know if you remember early in the season, we got the word from one of these light meetings that like, oh yeah, I've been like in the cut, kind of convincing
Right.
everybody that to kind of push their light's agenda, and this was our real first introduction to actually seeing what that looks like.
Yes.
Really, really crazy. I mean, you see, and it was kind of nuts because it takes you back to last season,
Yep.
and with him being there when Brion makes the execution and stuff, you
Yep.
kind of realize, oh, he was influencing Brion even back then,
Yep.
and here Brion can tell something is not right with how
Yeah.
things are going on in Barkovia. He's very happy that he's able to have um, this kind of haven for people. He's a king and he's kind of idolized, but there are various things that are happening that aren't right. He realizes, every man on the Infinitors let the dude get away, and he says something's not right with them, and he's getting these words from these guys. Like the homie tries to come up to him and say, that dude was with the Justice League in Taos. Like, are we now just taking people from the Justice League? That doesn't sound like a good idea. I don't think we want to mess with them. And
Right.
to Brion's credit, he's like, yeah, that's right. We definitely don't want to mess with them. And it also shows that like he has some like still affinity for them. Like he like the way it's presented from the perspective of the Justice League and the outsiders and all the people we follow is like Brion's on this like F them, like I don't rock with them. Like he still really cares about them, but it's every time the ambassador comes in, he's able to say a couple of words, and it moves everybody off the subject or pushes them more in a direction of hate and more in a direction towards confrontation. And you realize that this ambassador is he's doing everything. He's able to push the agenda for the light through Brion and really through everybody. But it seems like the only person that isn't really rocking with anything he's doing is Fury. And I wonder
Yeah.
if there's something with Fury and her, and she's not easily as controlled as everybody else, and she's able to see through his BS. there's something with that, but very fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it's very fascinating. I'm definitely looking forward to the next episode, seeing what she told Brienne, because Brienne asked her,
Yeah,
"Tell me everything.
yeah. What's going on? She's like, oh,
What's
I got a
going
story
on?"
to tell.
Yeah, so hopefully she tells him everything, and maybe he'll at least keep an eye out for what changes when this administrator shows up. So yeah, this is a very volatile situation in Markovia, which it definitely seemed like it would be after last season,
For sure.
and it's very interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, we also saw, and I'm sure you'll bring this up later, I guess, but we also saw that kind of therapy appointment with Tara and
Yeah,
Beast Boy and everybody else. So I'm wondering what the connection is between this Markovia metahuman issue and what's going on with Superboy and Zod,
yeah.
and I'm like, is there a connection? What is that connection? Um,
It almost to me felt like Sham that this was almost kind of your setup to maybe a season 5. I feel
that's what it seems like.
I feel like we'll probably learn more because again, like Fury clearly has things to tell to Brion. I think we will learn that. But as you said, like when you think about again this support group, and the only connection we have from the support group is Violet, because Violet has Harper express these feelings for her, and her being not new to being human, she's like, I don't know, there's something up with me where I can't really even respond to it because I feel blocked off. And that's where what's the name's like, oh, because homegirl was trying to holler at you, and Tara, who I love the fact that Tara is like here a full character, like she's where we moved on from the whole Judas contract thing. So much of her backstory has always been kind of connected to that, and seeing her personality develop, I think was neat. But yeah, a lot of this becomes that's kind of the gateway to anything connecting to a lot of this story. But this was again in many ways somewhat off the beating path of anything we've been dealing with the Zods, with Apocalypse, and with Connor and the Phantom Zone and the team. So yeah, you're right. I almost felt like this was something that was gonna be something maybe handled for next week. How did you feel? Well, first of all, what I will say is, like, going back to that ambassador real quick, I, that I thought they did a really good job of like showing just like how like even some of his powers like some of it's very on the nose where you see it. But I thought even if you think about how like Lizard Johnny, like when he first was introduced, when he first reintroduced himself to Brion, he's like, look man, like I don't want any trouble, I don't want to fight, like I just want just be peaceful, whatever. And then like he watches that like Infinitors Go video essentially, and all of a sudden, and he talks to the ambassador for a quick second, and all of a sudden he's like, "Yo, I want to be a cadet. I want to fight people and stuff." I think even Brion's kind of like, "That seems a little weird. This is not what he was saying just a couple minutes ago." The Markovian ambassador is like really. I'm really curious to see where his story goes and how dark this may continue to go for Markovia with him kind of in the fold.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that as well. I mean, it's gonna be very interesting to see. I feel like this is gonna go in a bunch of different directions. I'm also wondering, and this they may have explained it in this episode. I'm not sure. Maybe it went over my head. What was the deal with that guy they call Everyman that we saw run into the woods
Yeah.
as like a thug and then transform into his regular form? I mean, is he like a bad guy? I mean, we saw him. He was about to beat up
That
that guy.
family, yeah, the guy that was questioning Brion about pulling up
Yeah.
in the Justice League, yeah.
So I mean, clearly he's not a good guy, but I
Well,
don't really know
I
why.
don't know what happened to like I don't know what happened to because I thought I mean maybe I have to watch it again. I thought every man pulled up with all the Infinitors, but maybe I'm wrong. Like you could be right.
That's what I was
Maybe
wondering too.
like you made a good
But
point. Maybe he shapeshift into that guy.
yeah, maybe he was instigating or something, trying to
Right.
cause a problem
Yeah, that's
so that
actually
they could fix
yeah,
the problem.
that's a good point. I did not think about that because he does kind of show up randomly in the woods
Yeah, he
and
shows up. You see him kind of shapeshift
he
at the
shapeshifts out of something. Yeah, you
out
don't
of
see who he
something.
was, but yeah, he was something.
So yeah, it
And
seems like Brion didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, Brion don't know what's going on, but he know that he don't like this dude. Like he clearly was like, oh, I don't trust this dude. Like something's up. But
Right.
you are 100% right. I didn't it didn't dawn on me that there was a chance that maybe he was that dude. Like yeah, I didn't think about that at all. And it would make a lot of sense, you know. But like I said, with the bastard was able to just kind of move him quickly away from it, and and that's it. We don't know what happened to Wilhelm Viddings, who was the person that was leading that charge. So, uh, pretty crazy stuff. And I will say too is I thought the whole emotional story with Brion and Violet was I found it sad. I don't know how anyone else felt about it, but I feel like I feel like it's like very relatable for anybody. You have this very and it's funny seeing Violet actually verbalize because she's so like new to being human. She's actually able to verbalize her feelings maybe better than most, and seeing her verbalize what it means to have no wrong picture there to have this journey go with Brion, which we saw, which was so beautiful to watch in many ways. And to be like to now see me continue to grow, like we forget, like we saw her as a freshman in high school, and now she's a senior in high school, and all the stuff that she's gone, and all the leaps that she's made as a person, and that this was a person that was really important to all that, and that they've been missing in her life, and that's it's been difficult. Like seeing that conversation happen was heartbreaking, and to also see like Brion was not just like again we understand now the influence of that ambassador because Brion was not just like, oh, get out of here, like I don't hear. Like he's like, yo, man, I've been waiting to see you. I can't believe this is here. He says at one point, like, I didn't even realize how much I missed you until now. It's just like, how is that possible? But
Right.
we know how that's possible now. And it almost seems like they are ready to maybe reconnect during this conversation. And then, of course, the good ambassador comes in. And he puts in their heads, kind of the instinct of what happened and Violet, first of all, gets offended by her being misgendered during the conversation, and also kind of say, oh, you're coming back to be the queen now, and she's like, or they, sorry, is like first of all, keep my name out your mouth. Second of all, like I'm not here to be nobody's queen, and that starts the whole thing, and what was becoming a beautiful moment perhaps turned sideways rather fast. And it was just sad to see. It was sad to see, but it was really well acted. The only thing I will say, I don't know if it took you aback, but something with Violet's voice sounded different in this scene. Did it not sound
It,
different
it
to
it
you?
seemed like, yeah, I agree. It seemed like it was a little different. I don't know if they had to get somebody else, if the person wasn't there, or if they told her to sound different. I don't know. But yeah, it did sound different. I noticed that as well.
Yeah, it was weird. I didn't know if maybe first of all, her suit is badass. It
Yeah, that was
actually
dope.
is really
Beautiful.
close, comic book close to the actual Halo character in the comics. With the kind of rainbow kind of colors going down with the black. It's when I looked it up online and I saw how it connects to Violet's suit. I'm like, oh, that's pretty dope. Um, so that part of it, I love. But yeah, that threw me off a little bit. I was like, well, maybe when she's Halo, her voice changes. That's the only thing I thought. I was like, well, maybe as she continues to grow her powers, her voice changes. We had not seen Halo at all this season. Like we seen Violet, but we haven't seen like Halo the hero. This is the first time we see her in this kind of disposition. So that's the only thing I thought. I was like, hey, maybe when they're Halo, they sound different. But yeah, their voice was totally different, and that was it took me out of the scene a little bit, but I almost got over it really fast because again, just the emotion of it. But yeah, this was actually probably one of my favorite scenes of the season so far. It sounds like you really liked it as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was very intense. Um, um, I do like the costume a lot as well. I like that Halo just boom tubing into places
Yeah,
as
she was
well.
very very powerful.
Yeah, very very powerful. Um, yeah, yeah. It was a good scene. It was a very good scene. It turned very ugly very quickly, but we saw that administrator just walk up, and it's like,
Yep.
all right,
You know what time it
what's
is.
gonna
Yep.
happen?
Yep.
and the situation just blew up. So, but yeah,
Which
it was a good scene. It was
and
well done.
it's crazy too because also like what was also like I said I found this scene to be very relatable with dealing with relationships and dealing with breakups because also
Right.
like even though the ambassador like he kind of plays kind of like Ares did in like the first like Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think he necessarily like just puts things in people's heads. Like maybe sometimes he does, but sometimes he's like just takes a push in
Yeah,
a
he
certain
just turns up the
direction
temperature.
and turns the temperature a little bit, and that just turns people off or sends people in a whole different direction. And that was why also the fight that ensues in this scene was I thought also great and heartbreaking because that fight also seemed very realistic too. Like them not being able to see eye to eye with where each other was is a lot of times how those things happen with ex lovers who try to talk about their issues. Is
Yeah.
eventually that pain and that heartbreak and some of the stuff that they had to go through and get through on their own without that person, they kind of bubble up really fast and it could be a very combustible situation, which is what we saw from that episode. Really awesome stuff from YJ, I thought, and again, I was a little surprised. I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. Cause I know the Violet Brion relationship is a bit controversial among the fans. It's never bothered me. I've always liked it, but um, I was still maybe a bit surprised. Some people were just like, "Oh, I don't want to see this." I thought it was extremely well done. Like you said, the whole Markovia thing was something we hadn't touched, so we needed to figure out what was going on at some point. And real quickly before we get to the end of the end, which was kind of just talking about like the team and putting the Magic Bus together. Also, really enjoyed the support group, which we mentioned before a little bit. Violet has an outlet to talk to other people about the things they are going through, and we learned some other stuff. Like I said, I talked about you know Tara being there, and we don't know much about what her, but we know she does give a good perspective on her feelings about Brion, and we also learn a lot about Victor, and we see that
Mm-hmm.
there's a
Yep.
reconciling happening with his dad, which was really neat, and it even continues, I think, in that after credit scene where we see they're both together for that unveiling of the plan for the new Hall of Justice, and then we see Gar's development in his recovery from
Yes.
depression, and he has a support dog, and he's again joining these sessions, and he's made up with McGann. It seems like the only step he hasn't taken as of yet is talking to Perdita, but we get some more work being done by Gar. So good stuff here. I liked a lot of it. I thought some of Gar's writing could have been tightened up a little bit. He sounded a little infomercially. I thought. I don't know how you felt, but
Yeah.
and it made, some of that is I think also is Greg Sipes' like voice. Like I think Greg Sipes kind of sounds he could sound very infomercially if you write him in a certain way. So he's kind of just explaining everything he's going through, and almost sounds like, oh yeah, I'm doing this and do this, and I don't take these pills, but I got my antidepressants. I think some of the writing, or maybe they could have adjusted some of the cadences, making it sound a little more natural. But the spirit and the details of what we were getting were deep, and to see like we know Beast Boy has a very close association with animals. We see that from Gar even when he's a little kid. To see that a support dog has been able to help him was a really smart move. That just like with Dick going to back into the circus game,
Mm-hmm.
Gar getting back in touch with his love for animals because he relates to them in ways that no other person can was smart. I thought very smart.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. It's just good to see Beach Boy in a positive place.
Yeah.
After all season basically seeing in a very negative place. Um, but yeah, I agree. I think that was kind of a very good idea. Um, and like you said, it was cool seeing Tara, seeing Victor. Of course, Halo's being there. Um, it was just yeah. I mean, it was very cool to see, and it kind of just makes the Young Justice world seem more lived in,
Yeah.
seeing the different where the different characters are and what they're doing and all of that. It just helps to expand the world, expand the universe, and you know, and it helps to connect these storylines too because we have been wondering where this Beast Boy story was gonna go. So I thought that was good.
Yeah, I thought it was good as well. It's me. It does really set them up because we see, and there's more images coming from the comic books that Beast Boy is going to rejoin the Outsiders in the Young Justice Targets comic book series, which looks pretty cool. I would definitely suggest if you love this show to um, to go back to go and pick up that book. And it does really set him up to maybe get himself right and get back to being the good old Beast Boy that we know and love. So that should be a fun thing. And the other part of this episode that, again, to me, even though it's the main thing we're following, we did kind of feel a little bit like the C plot was the search for this bus, which we see is kind of junked in some Metropolis junkyard and has been crushed and is not usable. But Zatanna uses the Trogs that we've seen from the earlier episodes to put the bus back together. I like that they kind of put in some stuff about how in previous times they were known as gremlins and but this is what they actually are and the value that they have, and that yes, they like to tear things apart, but they're also really good at putting things together. And she had to do a little bit of negotiating with Dick's SUV, which I thought also had one of my favorite lines from the season is when she gives up the SUV, Dick's like, I'm not Bruce Wayne, like I don't got that kind of bread to just be giving away cars. And then of course Artemis gives away his snacks too. So Dick was having a pretty bad day, other than the fact that they did find the magic bus. But I thought that these were cute scenes.
Oh yeah, yeah. I thought those were cool scenes as well. It's cool scenes as well, and I feel like it's gonna help to um, set up the next episode and the rest of this arc. Basically, it seems like they found a way to jump into the Phantom Zone, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe using that bus. So, yeah. I mean, I guess we're gonna find out what's going on.
Yeah, we didn't even mention it in the last when we talked about the last episode, but you had that whole fight scene with Clarion, which was really I thought was really cool. Um, Once again, showing kind of how powerful Clarion is, and he was he was supposed to try to help them, and he didn't, but he did because he's like, oh, I don't got give you a debt, like I do my debt myself by not killing y'all. But he mentions the school bus by accident, and that gives them the clue that, oh wait, we can get the school bus.
Right. Yeah.
So that was kind of how we got here. And like you said, it seems like they're going to be able to find a way to get this bus and use it to find the Phantom Zone, and we see Aquaman giving giving that's the wrong picture there. Aquaman giving Zatanna kind of a lift with her powers and everything, with his powers to help her set up the situation, and that kind of exists. Sets us up for our last episode. So, where do you feel in terms of how you feeling about our entry into the final 3 episodes of this season, Sham?
I'm feeling pretty good. I think this has been a very solid season so far. A lot of action, a lot of um, different things happening, a lot of mystery, a ton of different characters.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's been great. I think it's been very good, and I'm looking forward to the finale. Hoping we get some of these things tied together, some of these different storylines.
Yeah, I'm as well, man. I feel like this was a weird episode. Like, it was good. It just was, again, nothing like I expected. Like, I think we all thought a Nightwing arc would have a lot more action. That has not been the case. This has been a lot more slowed down. And it's not even just the Nightwing side of it. It's just like every story also linked to it. The Phantom Zone stuff is, going at a snail's pace, which has been all season. But, like, here, the Brion stuff, there's a little bit of action in the beginning, with the with his superhero team, but otherwise a lot of it is dialogue. A lot of it is just kind of piecing together more of kind of what's going on in Markovia. Again, the Violet stuff is not a lot of action, and here was not a lot of action. Do you feel like you're lacking in that regard when it comes to the lack of action, or are you being cool with this arc so far?
I've been cool with it so far. I mean, trying to get from point A to point B. I'm sure we'll get a lot of action.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, the Zods are still out here.
Yeah.
Malafa'ak and the Light, I guess, is always causing issues. So
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, we're gonna get we're certainly gonna get a lot of stuff, a lot of action coming up. But I didn't mind these episodes. I thought I thought they're definitely helping to move the plot along and reintroducing Markovia and Halo and um, some of the things from last season. I think was very cool as well.
All right, so that's a good part. I think to do these final scores here. So what are you gonna give these episodes of Young Justice Phantoms, episodes 22 and 23 here, Sham?
I'll give 22 a 7.5, and I think I'll give episode 23 an 8.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought the first episode was a solid episode. It's not a bad 7.5. There wasn't really anything I disliked. I
Mm-hmm.
can say, oh, I didn't like that, but it was a bridge episode. I think it was very much a bridge episode
I agree with that.
to get us from, okay, this is where we are. Dick's included, the Zatanna's included. The characters meet up. This character figures this out. So it was just kind of putting pieces together,
Yeah.
and that's good. So I give it's a solid episode. So I give it 7.5, and I give the next one 8.5. It was just seeing Markovia, seeing Halo, having all these other storylines come back and explained, and then of course making progress with the Dick and Zatanna and everything. Um, so yeah, it was just it's. I think it's just really cool seeing that and having them kind of put that together and reintroduce that, which I think was a very good decision because it felt very unfinished in the last season. So I give
Yeah.
this one an 8.5.
Yeah, I will go the first episode. I'll go 7. Again, I wasn't crazy about it the first time I watched it. I watched it again today. I was like, oh, this episode was pretty good. And then we didn't mention it, but the Clarion stuff was really good. And then Connor explaining to Zod's what happened with Krypton and everything. A lot of important information. It was decent. I'll give that one a 7. And I'll give this week's episode an 8. I really did like a lot of what we got from this episode. Um, Again, I've always been a fan of the Markovia stuff. I've always been a fan of Brion and Violet. So us getting that was great, and I felt like they needed to do that. Like it's been a while before we haven't really gotten, like you said, Shamar, any real closure, which is ironic because a lot of the theme for Violet was that she didn't get closure for what happened with Brion. But we didn't get really much closure about how the last season ended, which was pretty wild. And we've only gotten bits and pieces of stuff that's happened in Markovia, and I expect maybe I mentioned that maybe it'd be something for next season, but perhaps it's something that's actually explored in the Young Justice Targets comic book that's coming out. That's supposed to be, in theory, the bridge to a season 5 if we do get a season 5, or maybe more of like a prologue to season 4. Maybe we'll get more answers to that stuff, but I thought the stuff they established was really neat. It raises a lot of questions about what is going on in Markovia, and will they eventually figure out that the ambassador is causing this much damage. But I really enjoyed a lot of it, and I think the next 3 episodes, though, we're about to really buckle up. You got the team heading into the Phantom Zone. You assume they're going to go face to face with Zod and face to face with Connor. And like I said, an interesting note, Sharon, to think about. No McGann on this mission right now, and I do wonder if that was the right move by Dick. Dick mentions I don't like keeping secrets, which is kind of weird that he said that because I'm like, you keep saying that, but yet you keep also
He
acting
always
like
keeps
this.
secrets.
He keeps a lot of secrets, and I think sometimes, and some of that's that Batman in him that he still can't shake. When he said that line, I was like, he's saying that, but I don't know if he really believes that. And this is another example, and I wonder whatever happens with Connor if there doesn't become another rift with the team keeping McGann out of the loop in this. Um, though I will say I actually do think there is something noble about the idea that it shouldn't be the burden of someone who's gone through this tragedy to have to save the people involved. Like I think it's nice that the team is saying, look, McGann's been through a lot. I don't even want to put her through this again. Like let's just get this job done. Will she see it that way? I think will be a major question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's kind of maybe the biggest shoe to drop with
Yeah.
this Connor thing, if they are able to save him.
Right.
So we got to see how that goes. It could be either very touching or very tragic. So yeah,
Well,
we got to see.
buckle up, man. Episodes 24, 25, and 26 are the last episodes of this season. I'm sure they will be pretty wild. These have typically been 4 episode arcs. This is a 5 episode arc. And I can't wait. I really can't wait for next week. But that's going to do it for this edition of our Young Justice episode recap and review. This is a little more of an extended episode, but we had to combine 2 episodes into one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Of course, we do these recaps mostly every week or every couple of weeks where we recap every episode of Young Justice. So if you guys are watching next week, make sure you look out for our next episode recap for episode 24. But for now, that's going to do it. Thank you guys for checking us out. For Shamari, I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.